Now we turn to number 4 in our series, looking at lessons of faith from Joshua. This one's entitled The Conflict Behind All Conflicts, which of course is talking about the great controversy, the cosmic conflict. What's going on, the battle between God and Satan over his charges and God's answer to what he has alleged against God and his government, the character of God. It's all about the character of God. Every time we come back to that fundamental aspect of where we are in the universe, the issue is, can God be trusted? What kind of person is he? What is his real nature? Can we really trust in a God who is good and loving and kind, or do we believe the devil's lies about what God is really like? So let's pick up the story there, particularly there in Joshua, as we look at chapter 5 and the last verses of that chapter, when Joshua meets the commander of the Lord's army. He goes up to this man who has his sword there and asks him, are you for us or are you against us? And that's always the question, is God for us or is he against us in our battles, in our fights? This is a very human battle for Joshua. He's fighting the various tribes there, the peoples of Canaan, and he wants to know, is God on our side or is he with the others? And we want to know that too. And the interesting answer from the commander of the Lord's army is neither. I'm not on your side or their side in that sense. You know, during our wars that we've had, even in our memory, we are always asking, is God for us or not? And the other side are asking for the same thing and praying perhaps even to the same God in the same way. And God is trying to say, no, I'm not for and against. I'm neither, because I love everybody. I want to save everybody. I'm not interested in taking sides here. And I think that's something that we should remember. Sometimes we want to co-opt God onto our side, whether it's our military or the political arena. We want God to be the one who's endorsing our particular party and so on. No, God is saying, no, I love each and every one of you, and I want to save each and every one of you. And your fights are not my fights. Now, in the case of Israel, of course, there was that very divine directive to go into the promised land, to take it over. But God also said, I will drive out the people. I'm not going to be the one telling you to go and slaughter people. I'm going to drive them out. But then the Israelites went and did what they did anyway. I think there's some lessons for us to learn about that whole perspective, and to think about what God really wants in our lives. Because, as I say, God is not taking human sides in any of our conflicts. Yes, he stands up for good and truth and right, and that is important. And for the Israelites, it was important for them to know that God was with them on the way. But sometimes they took God for granted. Do you remember the story about taking the ark into battle just because they were sure that God would not let that very precious demonstration of God's presence be captured? And it was. Why? Because they were treating God as somebody to be used and to be on their side, to be against the Philistines. Were the Philistines great? No, of course not. But you can't kind of exploit God. That is a very pagan idea, to have God on your side, to do things for you against others, to be very much, how could I put it, a weapon in your hand to use against your enemy. Yes, we want God to be with us. Yes, we want him to encourage us on the way. Yes, we want to be with God in the sense of acknowledging what is true and good and right and loving. But just like the commander of the Lord's army says, I'm not for either one of you in your human battles. I'm for God himself. And we need to understand that and learn to be more like that in what we do, acknowledging God as supreme, as the one in this cosmic conflict who is answering the charges of the devil.